Hello, Scorpio. Welcome to your October forecast. So, we are going from Libra season, which is your 12th house, to your sign, Scorpio. So, when you're in a 12th house season, this is all about intentional isolation, recuperation, resting. This is a season about releasing self sabotaging thoughts and behaviors. The 12th house is the Cadent house about the unseen and the unknown realms. So this is a house where normally we go more internal. We do a little bit of inner work. We take rest before the sun goes into the sign of our first house. So then there's this glow up happening. And you'll feel the energy moving into your first house, which is your body, your ego, your sense of self, your identity, as the planets start moving into your first house. So we had Mars move there in September. So Mars is in its domicile. So you would have felt more energized, perhaps more determined than ever. Then we have Mercury moving into your first house on October 6th. And then the sun will move into your first house, which is usually a glow up moment for you on October 22nd. So let's get into it. On October 4th, Venus in Virgo will conjunct the South Node at 18 degrees. Now, this isn't normally a transit I would even bring up, especially for anybody other than a Venus ruled sign like Libra or Taurus. However, last month, when the Sun was conjunct the South Node and then Mercury was conjunct the South Node around September 10th and 11th, I definitely downplayed the energy of that transit. So Venus in Virgo is in its fall. This is a Venus that is more mercurial, more analytical, more critical, more judgmental. And Venus is transiting through your 11th house of your groups, your friendships, your community, and also the 11th house represents our long-term aspirations and goals. Venus rules your 12th house and also your 7th house of one-on-one partnerships. And so when Venus goes to the South Node, now remember what happened September 10th and 11th. This will give you clues. The sun is our ego, it's our life force energy. Mercury is the planet of communication. So a lot of people might have felt that they were tired around this time. I mean, it was in between eclipses too. And so when Venus in Virgo goes through the South Node, there could be a moment of, releasing and purging. Some Scorpio risings might be having a moment with their partner, some releasing of old, calcified, old stories around your sense of self-worth, the stories that you play around your head about that. But something is being released, something's being purged at that time. Now, like I mentioned, on October 6th, Mercury will ingress into the sign of Scorpio. So Mercury in your first house, this might have you just thinking about things, right? Internalizing things. Mercury in Scorpio is probably the most quiet Mercuries of the zodiac sign. On the same day, there's a full moon in the sign of Aries at 14 degrees. This happens at 11:47 p.m. Eastern time. And I'm actually going to share my screen to show you the chart. Okay. So every full moon is a release, a culmination, an ending of some sorts. So this is the full moon chart. This isn't necessarily based on your rising sign. So the full moon is happening in your sixth house, which is another cadent house, like the 12th. The sixth house is the house of rituals, your habits, your health, your work environment. This is where your pets live. And also, This is the house where you want to be careful of overdoing it, overworking, burning yourself out, especially when there's a moon here. When the moon transits here, you want to take care of your health, you want to be mindful of your energy output. So here we have the sun in Libra. I know that this chart is showing a Cancer rising. This is the full moon chart. So we have here um the full moon is in, okay, so the sun is in at 14 degrees of Libra and the full moon is at 14 degrees of Aries. Um, Aries and Libra are also relational signs. Aries is about the self, Libra is about relationships. The ruler of this moon is Mars in its domicile in Scorpio, transiting through your first house. So there's something being completed here around your sixth house, 12th house topics. Okay. There's something being released around your daily habits, your health routines, the ways in which you are self-sabotaging yourself. Mars is in its domicile and it's transiting through your first house. So you're pretty determined to do something at this time, at the season, I would say. You're trying to expand your knowledge base. You're trying to really understand self. Maybe some of you decided to go back to school to learn something, or learn about spirituality or different spiritual modalities. But the place of Libra and Aries are places about these are the places where we have to grapple with the ways in which our habits, our thoughts, our health routines might be hindering our physical life here on earth. Cancer, I mean, the moon rules your Cancer ninth house, which is why I said some of you might be going to learn something, studying something. Maybe you're interested in learning astrology or a spiritual modality. But having the eclipses, you just went through eclipses in September through your fifth and 11th houses. This is also about, you know, the topics of your creativity and your passions and the groups and collective coming into one, right? So I do believe a lot of Scorpio risings have been determined in getting something done and achieving something, breaking some pattern. And I think this full moon in Aries is going to help you do that, especially because it's related to you, since Mars is in your first house. So that is the full moon. Let's continue. On October 13th, Venus will enter into the sign of Libra, which is your 12th house. Like I said, Libra season is going to be 12th house topics. And Venus is the planet of love and beauty and value. And in the sign of Libra, this is about our value systems. Are your values in aligned with people? Are the people in your life aligned to your values? Venus in Libra likes things balanced and harmonized. So the shadow aspect of this could be some people pleasing, right? As Venus also rules your seventh house of one-on-one relationships. Ultimately, Venus is in its domicile in Libra, so this is really lovely. It is a really lovely transit, I would say. But again, 12th house topics will be coming up at this time. So you might really be grappling with your sense of self-worth and how you show up in relationship in relation to another person. On October 20th, Mercury in Scorpio will conjunct Mars in Scorpio at 19 degrees. So this is your first house again. Mercury is the planet of communication, commerce, your mind, conjunct to Mars in Scorpio. So a lot of you might just feel compelled to speak, right? Speak with authority, speak with fervor. I think Mars in Scorpio is such I really like this energy because it's very determined, it's very ambitious, it's very focused. It's like nothing will stop a Mars and Scorpio person from getting that thing done. Taylor Swift has Mars and Scorpio. And I think of what is it, orca whales. They are like Mars and Scorpio animals to me. They are very strategic and very, yes, there is a sense of obsession and revenge also in Mars and Scorpio, but Mercury conjunct Mars and Scorpio could just be this day of like immense focus and immense determination to get something done. On October 21st, there is a new moon in Libra at 28 degrees, and this happens at 8:25 a.m. Eastern time. So please adjust for your time zone. And let's show this chart for this. Again, this is a lunation happening in your 12th house. So new moons are about new beginnings, setting new intentions. And here we are. So a new moon happens when the moon is conjunct to the sun. So they're both in the same sign. And the ruler of this new moon is Venus in its domicile in the sign of Libra, and it's co-present there, which I think is really lovely. I think this is a beautiful moment to plant some seeds that you will see unfurl in the next 6 months. The the sun just came off of a square to Jupiter. So there was a separating square now to Jupiter, which is in your ninth house. And so, like I said, Jupiter's trying to expand your knowledge base. It's trying to help you. Maybe a lot of Scorpio risings might have felt compelled to travel abroad during Jupiter's transit through Cancer. And the 12th house is about also things that are foreign to us. So you might have felt compelled to travel during this time, travel abroad. But ultimately, this is a signature around committing to something for the next 6 months in your 12th house realm. Now, if you think about astronomically what happens in the 12th house, this is right around sunrise when all of the things that have been lit up by the sky through the darkness now start to disappear as the sun is rising. So I find 12th house people to be really great manifestors because they're able to see things that they're able to feel and know that something is there without them seeing it. And that's ultimately what manifestation is about. It's something somatic. It's something that you feel. It's something that you embody. It's something that you believe, even without the physical evidence of it. So I think this is really lovely, having the new moon and Venus in its domicile transiting your 12th house. Yeah. I'm trying to think what else is 12th housey. Mm. This is a time to have dedicated purpose, intentional isolation. What you know about yourself based on what's unknown and unfamiliar to you. This is why I said, like, some of you might be compelled to travel to foreign lands at this time. This is also the place of self undoing. This is, you could be haunted by the past as well. This is the realm of secret enemies, hospitals, prisons, film studios, and this is where you could be misunderstood. So yeah, this could be a new intention, right? A new beginning in terms of how you grapple with your own sense of self-worth and your relationship to the unknown and the unseen. Some Scorpio risings might be interested in advocating for the prison industrial complex or marginalized community, as Libra is the archetype of social justice. Moving right along. Okay, so that was the new moon in Libra. On October 22nd, Neptune retrograde will re enter the sign of Pisces. And on the same day, the sun will ingress into Scorpio. And this is Mercury's pre shadow at 20 degrees of Scorpio. The retrograde happens actually on November 9th. So, Neptune retrograding back into your, what is it? Ooh, let me look into your fifth house. Um, Now, Saturn is already there, retrograding in Pisces. It's finishing up its story there. Neptune is finishing up its 14 or so year transit through your fifth house. And I like this because the fifth house is in a trine to you. This is supportive in some way. So Neptune is the planet of imagination and dream, reimagining, redreaming. Because I just did a reading with somebody who is going through their first midlife transits. 36, 37 is like the first ones you'll get. And he was like, I don't even remember what my dreams are. And so if you're feeling like this, Neptune coming back to the place of romance and creativity is a moment where you're like, what are my dreams? What do I want to do with my life? And that's also testified by the eclipses happening in your 11th house, that solar eclipse in Virgo that you had back in September. This is a moment to really ask yourself, what was my dream as a child? And how am I allowing my inner child to be present in my adulthood? I'm assuming most of you are adults now. And Saturn there is really making form, allowing the form of these dreams to come true. The Saturn in the fifth house is also, your romance life might have felt like, um, a little dry, like nothing really happening here. But Saturn here is also asking you to be more serious about your creations, about your creativity. Some Scorpio risings might have become parents since Saturn entered the fifth house in 2023. So Neptune coming here and then the sun going into your first house. This is like a glow up season, honestly. And as a water rising sign, I would take advantage of Saturn and Neptune being here while it's in a trine to you. And usually when a planet is finishing up its, transit through a house, it's not as difficult as when it first entered the house. This is like the integration part. This is like the ending of that chapter. So that is October 22nd. October 24th, the sun in Scorpio will square Pluto in Aquarius at 1 degree. The same day, Mercury in Scorpio will trine Jupiter in Cancer at 24 degrees. Okay, so the sun, which is like going through your first house, it's making you glow up. It's making you, focus on self and body. And the square to Pluto in Aquarius in your fourth house. Okay, so there's some conflict between you and your family. There's maybe some, power dynamics coming out at play. Your family wants you to be more traditional. And you're like, no, I want to be myself. I want to be authentic to myself, for example. So there could be some wounding or like some old trigger points coming up at this time. So just be aware, just be mindful on October 24th when the sun squares Pluto. Mercury in Scorpio will trine Jupiter in Cancer at 24 degrees, which is a lovely aspect. That is really lovely. That is like getting some downloads, learning something new. I always think of Jupiter and Mercury to be like similar energies. Like Mercury obviously is the messenger of the gods. Mercury in the first house is where it has its joy. And then Jupiter is the greater benefic. It is about beliefs and faith. And so this is just a great day to like send messages, learn something new, go to a class, take a 1-day class on learning how to read your natal chart. I don't know, but Jupiter here again is trying to expand your mind, expand your knowledge base, and having that connection to Mercury is just really positive. On October 24th, Mercury in Scorpio then will trine Saturn retrograde in Pisces at 26 degrees. So you have this like um these 2 days, October 24th, October 25th, of this grand water trine between your Pisces fifth house and your Cancer ninth house, which is really lovely. This is so supportive. This is like emotionally fulfilling things. So when Mercury trines to Saturn, you could just be having a serious conversation with a child if you have children, or a loved one, or maybe you're going through a romance, you're dating somebody and you decide to take it to the next level. Whenever Mercury connects to Saturn in any way, I always think of it being having a more serious tone. But because this is a trine, this is like our harmonious aspect, I think whatever this is ultimately positive. On October 28th, Mars in Scorpio will then trine Jupiter in Cancer at 24 degrees, which is interesting because back in the winter time, so December to around April, Mars was in Cancer. Mars was going through that retrograde. And now Jupiter is retracing those steps, you know, healing and recuperating and rejuvenating whatever Mars was tearing up in your Cancer house. And I think it's interesting that now Mars is in a better position here in its domicile in Scorpio, and it's in a trine to Jupiter, kind of saying like, hey, is everything okay there? Like, are you Jupiter? Hey, are you expanding what I've like cut through before? And Mars is your chart ruler. So Mars connecting in a harmonious aspect to an exalted Jupiter. This is also an aspect of, having faith in yourself. This is an aspect of believing in yourself, and not only believing, but backed by action. Like, I really like this aspect. I actually really like October 24th, 25th, 28th. I like highlighted that for you because there's such great aspects for you. Now, I have to say a disclaimer because trines can also have this aspect of things being manifest very quickly, right? So if there's something in your life that's on shaky ground, like a relationship, like a job, like anything that's on shaky ground, Mars and Scorpio will literally cut that ish away. It will be like, we're done. Goodbye. So I don't always like to say good or bad, right? Or in my opinion, I can say that these are going to be benefic aspects for you, but also I wanted to leave room for, life happens. And so sometimes even with Jupiter transits, Jupiter also I've seen to be prevalent in a lot of death charts. So I'm not saying that this is something that would happen to you, but I'm just saying that trines make things happen easily. They are flowing. So I also wanted to have that disclaimer that Mars trine Jupiter can, and all of these trines that I've been mentioning can also mean something being cut away from your life. And when you look back on it in hindsight, it could be a blessing in disguise. On October 29th, Mercury will ingress into Sagittarius, which is your second house of your personal finances and income. And this is where the retrograde will happen on November 9th. It will go between your second and first houses. So you want to pay attention to the pre-shadow that starts on October 22nd. And ultimately, this Mercury retrograde will have you really focused on your personal finances and income and how they relate to you and your sense of self-worth. And, Mercury rules your eighth house of shared income as well. So those topics and the ways in which you make money might be at the forefront of your mind during Mercury's transit through Sagittarius. Now, Mercury in Sag is in its detriment or in its depression. So just be careful of overspending and be mindful of your finances at this time because you might overspend um, as a result of some, emotions, I will say, emotional insecurity or not feeling grounded. So that is your warning for this transit. The same day, Mercury in Scorpio will trine Neptune retrograde in Pisces at 29 degrees. Mars in Scorpio will trine Saturn retrograde in Pisces at 25 degrees. And Mercury in Sagittarius will oppose Uranus retrograde in Gemini at 1 degree. So, yeah, October 29th is a busy day. You want to pay attention to that. That usually happens with planetary ingresses, but with all of these trines and this opposition between Mercury and Uranus, there might be something unexpected that you see in your finances, like an unexpected bill or an unexpected um, you know, charge on your credit card. You want to look out for like phishing schemes or scammers at this time. So if you want to think back to the transits I mentioned on October 24th and 25th, Mercury will be making the same aspects that it did those dates, but to Neptune in Pisces now. Um, and I really like Mercury trine Neptune in our harmonious aspect because you could be receiving just lovely downloads at this time, creative inspiration and insights, transmissions from the divine. Um, you could be having great ideas for creative projects. Mars in Scorpio, trine Saturn in Pisces. I really like this aspect when Mars and Saturn are in a harmonious aspect because it's very constructive. You can be very determined at this time to make some creative project and bring it into reality. But again, be careful with Mercury opposing Uranus on this day too, because Uranus has this like unexpected shock value and it's transiting your eighth houses of shared income. And Mercury is transiting your second house of your own income. So that opposition is something around your money and other people's money. Again, you could be having some unexpected bill at this time. Just be very careful. So those are the transits for your October Scorpio rising. And if you are a Scorpio sun, happy solar return. I will see you next month.